Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Blockmates Orange. And as you know, we talk about Bitcoin and EVM and what the future of Bitcoin looks like. And today's guest is Talal from Wizard Gallery, NFT marketplace on CoreDAO. Yes, you've heard of Ordinals, you've heard of runes, you've heard of NFTs on Bitcoin and all the interesting discussions and arguments that have come with it. But we'll definitely focus on primarily the NFTs on Bitcoin. And Talal, welcome. It's great to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Hi. No, thank you for having me. It's amazing to be here.
Cool. Thanks for taking the time. I know that you're super busy. Let's kick it right off. I mean, obviously, you guys are an NFT marketplace in at the very essence of what it is that you guys are doing. On CoreDAO, please brief introduction in terms of yourself and obviously the protocol and what you guys are doing.
Of course. So, hi everyone. I'm Talal. I'm the CEO of Wizard Gallery, which is an NFT marketplace for the Core blockchain, and Core is a Bitcoin-powered layer 1 blockchain that is also EVM compatible. So, honestly, the best of both worlds. They utilize the security of Bitcoin through the Core token and the flexibility and functionalities of Ethereum smart contracts, and we do that while minting and managing NFTs on our marketplace. I've been passionate about digital art and blockchain technology for many years now, and I'm so happy to be here today to share our journey and vision with you.
Great. Thanks for that awesome intro. So when did you guys come up with the idea? I mean, how were you presented with the prospect of doing something like this and kind of like this crossover between EVM and Bitcoin?
Of course. So we were really interested in what was happening in the core ecosystem. I was closely following the ecosystem and I was looking at all the dApps that were launching on the ecosystem. And I realized that, okay, there's no such dApp that is empowering creators, artists on the core ecosystem, and the core community is huge. And we identified that gap. What happened was that we applied for a grant to build the NFT marketplace, ended up receiving the grant. We built the marketplace. We launched in March 2024. So we're still pretty early. And yeah, that's how it became a reality for us.
Great. And I mean, just from a technical perspective, I mean, what does it actually take to build something like this? Is it really like kind of like going back to an EVM style of technicality and kind of like, okay, well, it's been done before, like Magic Eden's done X, Y, and Z, or
Yep.
OpenSea did that. Is it kind of like almost copying something along those lines, or is it kind of like technologically like a completely different ballgame?
So technologically, it becomes new when we integrate the core token, right? Otherwise, we're still minting NFTs as ERC 720s, 721s like regular. So the core token, because it's the native token for Wizard Gallery, it somehow uses Bitcoin through being the layer 1 blockchain, and
Yeah.
again the flexibility and functionalities of Ethereum smart contracts come with it. So essentially, it's more or less something like the NFT marketplace has done before, but with the core token being the native token, it changes a bit.
Okay. So I mean, in terms of the product market fit, I mean, has it been kind of like, well, we want to provide a platform where people can trade NFTs. Was that the intention as you guys started with this journey, or has it changed in any way in terms of like what you envisaged at the start and where you guys are at the moment?
So, so the mission, or the purpose was always to empower artists, NFT collectors, and other dApps in the ecosystem. I'm a strong believer that NFTs, they accelerate the onboarding of users on any ecosystem, and that was one of our missions, to accelerate the onboarding and to increase the users on core blockchain. So essentially, we created the marketplace to empower artists, collectors, and then it became, a point where people could buy, sell, trade, bid on NFTs. So, increasing engagement on the ecosystem. And then we also created a launchpad for creators and other dApps. And, we did our first launch with CoreDAO itself. And since then, we've been, the top performing NFT marketplaces on the core ecosystem.
Okay, great. And then in terms of the skepticism, was there ever skepticism within kind of like the EVM or the Bitcoin communities? Because we know that, kind of like you've got this hardcore kind of like Bitcoin maxi perspective, and then you obviously have the hardcore EVM perspective. Did you guys like have a challenge in terms of like your comms and your marketing or in your communication around kind of like these individuals, or was it pretty much, well, this is our product, this is what we're doing, and received acceptance straight off the bat? Just can you like kind of relate that experience for us?
Of course, yeah, we received acceptance straight out of the bat, and that was because we only had Core as our focus, and Core has built an excellent community, and they all have the same vision and the same mission, and they all stick to that one idea that yes, Bitcoin should have more users, Bitcoin should have more innovative users down the lane. So, launching was very smooth. Marketing and comms, they were very smooth because we were already launching to a community that was accepting of the fact that, yes, we are
Mm.
doing something different with Bitcoin.
That's awesome. Good news. So, in terms of the products that you guys have, you definitely don't come across as a one-trick pony. Can you just tell us what it is that you guys do specifically? I saw that there's a launch pad there. What exactly is that? Yeah, just talk us through the different products that you guys have.
Yeah, okay. So, pretty standard products. Obviously, we have a marketplace where users can buy, sell, trade NFTs. Then, artists can come up and create collections on the marketplace. Obviously, there's a review round, etc. Won't get into that. And then there's a launch pad that we use to launch NFTs from different creators, but mainly used by different dApps on Core. So yeah, a marketplace and a launch pad. That's it.
Okay, so I mean, no, it's not just that. I know it's not that straightforward, so don't be modest now. I think so. I think what's really interesting, and I mean, we have to have a discussion around runes and ordinals. Just share your wisdom, please, in terms of like from your perspective. Tell us about runes and ordinals. Why are they significant? What's the value prop around them? And like, is that like a major thing for kind of Bitcoin and bringing new users into the space? What are your thoughts around that?
Oh, yes, I definitely think that, it's a major thing for the Bitcoin ecosystem. And, it's not just an opinion. If you look at the market, I think it's going amazing for ordinals and ruins. And I was just reading that the total market cap of top 10 Bitcoin based NFTs has surged to 1.03 billion. And then there's an average daily trading volume of 2.25 million in May 2024 itself. And saying this, with the NFT market being where it is, I think this signals towards the growing influence of ordinals and ruins within the Web3 ecosystem. And I've read up on this, I've done my research. I think I'm a strong advocate that this could have far-reaching implications for the Bitcoin ecosystem. It presents an exciting opportunity to push the boundaries of what is possible with digital collectibles and the Bitcoin blockchain.
Are there collections that you might have seen like on EVM that would consider kind of like the Bitcoin angle to the whole thing? Or do you think that what you guys offer is kind of like an exclusive product only and there isn't really a crossover of those NFT collections coming into kind of like the core ecosystem?
Yeah, so I think this conversation will kick off when we incorporate ordinals and ruins into Wizard Gallery. We plan
Okay.
to leverage Bitcoin's infrastructure and the capabilities of ruins. And that's definitely part of the roadmap. So I think interesting to see what will happen then.
So in terms of the competition, I mean, I would assume that like Magic Eden would be kind of like the number one competition. I think from my perspective anyways, I think OpenSea kind of have dropped the ball tremendously over the last couple of years. And it seems like Magic Eden's definitely kind of like taken that ball and run with it very strongly. I mean, how do you guys position yourselves as kind of like a competitor to someone like Magic Eden? Is it kind of like something that you guys think about, or do you just like, okay, well, we have potentially the advantage because we do have such a close contact with the Bitcoin ecosystem, and we'll just get on with what we're doing? Or is there kind of like, okay, well, we'd like to do things, kind of like to the extent that we want to take Magic Eden on? How does that kind of like from a business strategy perspective, how do you guys think about that?
Well, I think definitely Magic Eden is something to be looked at.
Mm,
They've done amazing work over the years. And for us, right now, I don't think much about it because
yeah.
our community is completely different. We are targeting a completely different segment, and we are targeting a completely different community. We right now plan to have only the core token as our native token, so that sets us a bit different than the multi-chain supportive Magic Eden. So we don't think too much about that. Right now, all we want to do is we launched in March. We want to create the best possible product down the lane, and we want the best possible experience for the core Toshi community. And that has always been the number one focus. I think we might be looking at taking on Magic Eden, but down the lane, of course.
Yeah, I like that. It's kind of like, well, we'll get on with what we need to get on with, and when the time is right, then we'll
100%.
take that on. Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the just, I want to come back to the technical side of it. You did mention that the NFTs are obviously being minted on the EVM side of it. Is that correct?
Yep. Yes, sir.
So in terms of the ordinals and the runes now, how would that dynamic work? Would that then be on Bitcoin?
Yes, yes, that would then be Bitcoin, where we will use the BRC20 token standard to incorporate that. Still thinking of how we can incorporate both of them together. But let's see, that's a conversation that's still happening. But we know that we are going to make that happen.
Okay, so I mean, obviously, there's potentially a little bit of alpha there. I think you did potentially drop a little bit of alpha, but I'm not gonna press the issue. I mean, I know that there's obviously kind of like the trade secret side of things, and I know that it's quite tricky at the moment. But let's talk about the challenges that, from the obvious to the not so obvious. What are the challenges right now in terms of what BRC20 has on offer and what doesn't have on offer? What are you guys experiencing at the moment, not only from a technical development perspective, but also from a user perspective?
I think the number one thing that we are experiencing are scalability issues, honestly,
Mm,
because no matter how much I advocate that Bitcoin needs to have more innovative uses, I think Bitcoin blockchain, and you can disagree that Bitcoin blockchain is not designed for high transaction throughput. And, unlike Ethereum, which has a more flexible architecture for handling tokens. So, number one is obviously scalability issues, and number two, I think user and developer adoption is another key concern, because gaining widespread adoption among users and developers is a bit tricky over here, given Bitcoin's primary use case as a store of value. When we transition to a more complex functionality approach, like those required for BRC20 tokens, we may face resistance from the community, we may face resistance from our user base. So I think these two issues, I think right now, they're the most important issues to address. But again, with the rise in ordinals and ruins, we think that adoption is reaching to a point where it would become as easy as minting an NFT on ERC 721.
that's really interesting. That could be, in many ways, quite revolutionary in terms of the, like you say, the tricky thing is the expense. I mean, I remember when kind of like when the rune side of things first came out, it was like, okay,
Yep.
well, transfer from a central exchange and cost you like $60, in that transaction fee just to get the Bitcoin off the exchange. And then minting takes like 20 minutes if you're lucky, so, or
100%. Yeah.
even buying off the marketplace take like 20 minutes. And I think if you can bridge that divide, I think from a user perspective, that would be incredible. I think the biggest challenge from my perspective as a user is obviously cost, and then obviously the ease of use, like trying to figure out, so which Bitcoin wallet do I send it to? Do I send it to a Lightning network? Do I send it to a normal wallet? So I mean, it
Mhm.
took me literally a whole like afternoon to figure that out and asking questions. And I think if you guys had kind of like a streamlined solution around that, I think that would be incredible from a product market fit.
No, 100%. That's the focus. With Wizard Gallery, I think the number one focus that we always have and will always keep it the same way would be user experience.
Yeah, I really like what you guys have done from a UI UX perspective. I mean, it's a really good looking website. So to any of the listeners, if you are listening, just go check it out. We'll put the links in at the bottom of the video. But yeah, Wizard Gallery
Amazing.
is a beautiful website. I think you guys have done a really cool job of it. It's definitely got a gaming feel, but also it's got that art feel as well, which I really like. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think you guys did a great job of
Yeah.
that.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think just in terms of like the whole kind of like the dynamic between obviously EVM and Bitcoin, what would the ideal kind of like goal be for you guys, as a protocol and as a business going into the future? What's kind of like the vision that you have for this product? Like when you think about it, like your ideal scenario, what does that look like?
So our ideal scenario, obviously, like any other business, we want to become the leading platform for digital art and collectibles on our native blockchain, which is the core blockchain. Then we are also looking at how we can integrate, as I said, ordinals and ruins, and then move to supporting multiple chains over over the years. So our vision is, we want to empower artists, we want to provide collectors with a secure and engaging marketplace,
Mm.
and all in all, we aim to push the boundaries of what's possible with NFTs and blockchain technologies. We're trying to create an inclusive digital art ecosystem. That's what's on the vision list, sir.
Okay, that sounds great. I mean, I think right now there's kind of like this whole idea that runes and ordinals are like this kind of like this untouchable and almost inaccessible realm of possibility. And I think if you guys can bridge that divide, like I said earlier on, I think it really is kind of like open season. Like I mean, from our community's perspective, guys like to get involved in DeFi. It's what they do on a daily basis, and you can still see there's difficulty. Like,
Yep.
and I think if you guys can get, I mean, what are your thoughts around kind of like account abstraction and wallets and the rest of it? Is that something that you guys speak to other protocols about? I mean, is there anything in the works around that, or is it kind of like, well, we'll just do what we need to do, and it's not really something that you guys have actually looked at for the future?
Not at the moment. We haven't looked at something like that for now. But in the future, yes, if the need arises, we will definitely look into this.
Yeah, I think it could be like a really interesting possibility.
Hmm.
It's obviously one of the biggest challenges in the space, and especially the bridging the divide between kind of like what people perceive as normal DeFi, and now we've got kind of like Bitcoin DeFi, and how do you actually like get that right? But I suppose it's a discussion that we've had with other protocols as well, and it seems to be it's just an ongoing thing, I suppose. How do you kind of like evolve to that point? I mean, even EVM and ETH is still having difficulties. I mean, Coinbase just launched their wallets like last week, so it's still early
Yep.
days, and it'll be interesting to see how that develops. Just in terms of kind of your perspective around how the market has changed, like from previous cycles,
Hmm.
particularly the previous cycle to this cycle. I mean, in broad strokes, what do you see has changed, and kind of like the obvious and not so obvious things?
I think if in one word, um, I would have to describe the NFT marketplace, I would say it's much more mature now. And There has been an increase in quality and diversity of digital art. You know, mainstream audiences now know what NFTs are, and they're
Mm,
going towards adoption of NFTs. And the best part for me, however, is that there is an increasing focus on the utility and functionalities of NFTs beyond just mere collectibles. You know, uh, for example, NFTs are being used, just like you said, in DeFi for staking as collateral and other financial
mm.
products, and they're also being integrated into virtual worlds and games, so providing real world utility and enhancing their value proposition, because I think that's the only way to go forward. We have to start treating NFTs as beyond just collectibles and beyond just fancy pieces of digital art. They have to have, real world utility, and we're on that track, and still a long way to go, but I see a bright future ahead for NFTs that are providing real value to holders.
So where do you see? I mean, I have to ask this question. Where do you see kind of like long-term value and collateralization within NFTs? Obviously, beyond not just from the art perspective, but in terms of the value that they hold beyond that. How do you see that kind of like a future with NFTs in it?
I think, just like I mentioned, for DeFi,
Mm,
staking and as collateral, I think that's going to be the number one use case and utility, because, as you know, the DeFi industry has been on the rise since many years now. It's the number one source of interest for people trying to get into the blockchain ecosystem. Number one, that. Number two, I think gaming, since Web3 gaming has driven a lot of users. I
mm.
think gaming and NFTs will provide a very, very strong use case together. So gaming and DeFi, I think, are the two use cases where I think NFTs would really shine and would really have long-term real life utility.
Great. Yeah, I think I completely agree with you. I think there's obviously the kind of like the store of value within the value of the NFT as well. I mean, I know that sounds a bit strange, but I think from a collateralization perspective, it's going to be interesting to see how that evolves, and more importantly, how you guys obviously potentially evolve as a protocol as well to accommodate that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, I mean from a collateralization perspective, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that
No,
plays out, and especially
100%.
with Bitcoin, yeah. Um,
Yeah,
do
no,
you
no.
think? Do you think just before we close it off? Do you think that kind of like from a Bitcoin centric perspective, have you
Yep.
guys seen like a positive, um, like opinion and perspective from kind of like old time like hardcore Bitcoin holders coming into the CoreDAO ecosystem? Because I know that there's been a lot of positive sentiment in general around Core from Bitcoin holders. We've seen it with the amount of TVL that is currently coming into the ecosystem. I'm just curious from an NFT perspective, the kind of reception that you guys have received.
No, 100%. I think the reception has been amazing. And that has been due to the fact that Core has already raised, a lot of awareness about, the possibilities of Bitcoin. Core has opened a whole new avenue of what we could do on Bitcoin. So the
Mm,
reception has been amazing, and the community has been very well receptive of what we've been doing and what we plan to do. And again, that has only been possible because of long-standing efforts of the core ecosystem and their team, that they have somehow made they have somehow convinced the community that Bitcoin is not just a transaction value. It can be a store of value, and it can be more than just a transaction between two people. So the reception has been amazing, and hopefully that continues once we launch Ordinals and Ruins on the protocol. And yeah, looking forward to it.
So, in terms of timelines for Ordinals and Runes, have you guys got anything kind of penciled in, or is it still open ended?
No, it's still open ended. Right now, what
Okay.
we're doing is we launched in March, and then, we got a lot of community feedback. A lot of things that the community thought should have been included in the protocol, and we were actively listening and interacting with the community. I think that's the best part about Wizard, that we are in touch with KOLs in the core ecosystem, to ambassadors, to everyone in the community. And now we're looking at launching a new version of the marketplace, That's coming up in a couple of weeks. And once that is done, and once we make the user experience more, user friendly and easy for the people on like for our users, we will then move on to the ordinals and ruins discussion.
Great.
So
And I
nothing
mean, are
penciled
you
in at the moment, but yeah.
Talal, are you guys planning to I mean, I'm sure you guys are planning to encourage artists to kind of release, new collections in runes and ordinals. But are you guys planning to tap into existing runes and ordinals markets and try and take some of that market share, or is that not of interest to you guys?
No, of course it is. Of
Yeah.
course it is. We've been working on the functionality to, host secondary collections on Wizard. So 100% we're looking at that.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think that's it from my side. I really, really appreciate your time and more importantly your insight and it's like I said, to anyone who's listening, go check out their website. It really is really good to look at and it's very functional. I was quite surprised to hear that you guys are planning to bring out a V2, but I'm sure that's got everything to do with obviously implementation around the new stuff. Because it's a gorgeous website and I think you guys have done a great job. And I appreciate your time and more importantly, we look forward to seeing what you guys do in the future. And obviously we'll definitely come and use the website. And once you guys get the runes and ordinal side of things going, I'll definitely be there. So thanks for your time. Much appreciated, sir.
Amazing, amazing. No, thank you for having me, and thank you so much for the interesting conversation. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very
Cool.
much.
Thanks, Talal. All the best.
All right, thank you.
Everyone, thanks. Yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Please like and subscribe. Always appreciated. Until next time, take care.
All right, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please give us a like, subscribe, and turn the notification bell on for next time. See ya.